temperature for war is down, economy is doing well, everybody's happy. COVID happens, rather than choosing to, put the onus and the responsibility on China, what do? We put it on Trump. Trump's the enemy.
Cancel culture is real, it's insane, and it's growing exponentially. These are the words of Bill Maher, a comedian and commentator who has never shied away from controversy on his show, Real Time with Bill Maher *. He has tackled the excesses of woke culture with a boldness that has made him a household name. Bill Maher has compared woke culture to a new form of McCarthyism, where everyone lives in fear of saying the wrong thing and being canceled. He has also called out his liberal peers for creating an environment where free speech is stifled and honest dialogue is replaced by ideological purity tests. As Bill Maher continues to speak out against the extremes of woke culture, one must wonder, has our quest for social justice gone too far? Bill Maher is known for his sharp wit and fearless commentary. Starting his career in stand-up comedy, he quickly made a name for himself with his unapologetic take on politics and society. His big break came with the show Politically Incorrect *, which aired in the 1990s. It was here that Bill Maher established himself as a voice unafraid to challenge the status quo, often bringing together guests from vastly different backgrounds to debate the issues of the day.
Would rip off the Band-Aid. But just in general, these sort of like...
Trump was going to do it in May, and he was going to do it in a different way, So let me ask a question a different way with you.
Okay, but...
After Politically Incorrect ended, Bill Maher didn't miss a beat. He launched Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, which has been running strong since 2003. This show is where Bill Maher truly shines, blending comedy with insightful political commentary. Unlike many comedians who stick to safe topics, Bill Maher dives headfirst into controversy, making Real Time a must-watch for anyone interested in current events. Maher is traditionally a liberal and has always been a vocal critic of conservative policies and figures. What sets him apart is his willingness to criticize his own side when he feels it's warranted. He's like that friend who calls you out when you're being unreasonable, and you respect them more for it. This approach has earned him both admiration and scorn, often from the same people depending on the topic of the week. In recent years, Maher's critiques have increasingly targeted what many refer to as woke culture, an often hyper-progressive, self-righteous attitude that dominates social media and certain parts of society. Maher's shift didn't happen overnight. It's been a gradual transition as he's watched the liberal movement, which he once wholeheartedly supported, morph into something he believes stifles free speech and critical thinking. Take, for example, Bill Maher's thoughts on cancel culture. He has repeatedly called out the left for being too quick to cancel people for minor infractions or old tweets. Bill Maher argues that this behavior is not only unproductive but also dangerous, as it discourages open dialogue and fosters an environment of fear. He's not defending offensive behavior. Instead, he's advocating for a more measured and forgiving approach. You've probably heard the term woke thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean? At its core, being woke originally meant being aware of social injustices and inequalities. It started as a way to describe someone who is awake to issues of racial and social justice, which is undeniably a good thing. We all want a just society. The term woke has its roots in African American vernacular English, AAVE, and gained traction during the Black Lives Matter movement. It was about staying vigilant and actively fighting against racial oppression and other forms of discrimination. However, over time, the term evolved, or as some might say, got hijacked. Today, when people talk about woke culture, they're often referring to a very specific set of attitudes and behaviors. It's this hyper-awareness that sometimes crosses into hypersensitivity. It's a culture where there's a lot of virtue signaling, where people show off their progressive credentials without doing anything substantive to address the issues. Let's look at some examples in the media. Woke culture can be seen in the relentless push for representation. Representation is important, but sometimes it feels forced, like when a popular TV show suddenly revamps its entire cast to tick every diversity box possible, often at the expense of storytelling. We see woke culture manifesting in things like safe spaces and trigger warnings. Universities, which should be bastions of free thought and debate, sometimes end up silencing dissenting opinions because they might offend someone. There are instances where speakers are disinvited from campuses because their views don't align perfectly with woke ideology, venturing into the murky territory of censorship. Politics is another arena where woke culture is prevalent. Politicians and public figures often walk on eggshells, terrified of saying something that could be considered offensive. Policies and decisions are sometimes made more to avoid backlash from vocal social media mobs than to actually benefit society, leading to extreme political correctness. One of the biggest criticisms of woke culture is its impact on free speech and public discourse. When people are scared to speak their minds for fear of being canceled or labeled as bigots, open dialogue is stifled. This creates an environment where only one viewpoint is acceptable, and any deviation from that is met with immediate and often harsh backlash. On his show Real Time with, Bill Maher has been vocal about what he sees as the hypocrisy and extremism of the woke movement. One memorable moment was when Bill Maher criticized the cancel culture phenomenon, arguing that it has become a form of social punishment where people are ostracized and lose their careers over mistakes, often minor or from years ago. He famously said, "Cancel culture is real. It's insane, and it's growing exponentially. It's coming to a neighborhood near you." This quote captures his concern that this culture of punishment is pervasive and damaging to society. Another instance was his take on free speech. Bill Maher has repeatedly stressed the importance of allowing diverse opinions, even if they're unpopular or controversial. He pointed out that in the past, liberals were the champions of free speech. Bill Maher has noted that liberals, once champions of free speech, now often seem to be the ones trying to shut it down. He quipped that the right to free speech includes the right to offend people, emphasizing that protecting free speech means tolerating views we don't necessarily agree with. Maher has also criticized the extremes of woke culture in comedy. He discussed how comedians are increasingly under fire for jokes some find offensive, arguing that this kind of censorship is killing comedy, which thrives on pushing boundaries and making people think. He lamented that saying, "I don't know," is now considered radical, criticizing how intolerance for differing viewpoints has made honest discourse nearly impossible. It's not just about being overly politically correct, it's about how this culture impacts free speech, creates division, and sometimes rejects common sense and scientific facts. Here's a refined version. In today's woke culture, one of the foremost concerns is its chilling effect on free speech, a fundamental right that should enable individuals to express their opinions and criticisms without fear of reprisal. However, in the current climate, expressing views contrary to the prevailing ideology can have dire consequences. Cancel culture serves as a prime example. Countless individuals have been canceled for statements made years or even decades ago. This phenomenon extends beyond celebrities. Ordinary people can lose their jobs and social standing over a single misstep. Consider Kevin Hart's case. Despite apologizing for old tweets, he lost his opportunity to host the Oscars, demonstrating how unforgiving cancel culture can be. The relentless nature of cancellation leaves no room for personal growth or forgiveness. Consequently, it creates a chilling effect where individuals fear expressing themselves freely, resorting to self-censorship to avoid potential backlash. Such an environment is detrimental not only to the individuals directly affected but also to society at large. When people are afraid to speak their minds, meaningful dialogue and progress becomes stifled, hindering the exchange of ideas essential for a healthy society. When open discussion and debate are stifled, we lose valuable opportunities to learn from one another and foster growth. As Maher himself has observed, we're now in an era where fear of speaking out is widespread, which isn't conducive to a free and healthy society. Another significant concern with woke culture is its tendency to promote a us versus them mentality through identity politics. Identity politics focuses on issues relevant to various social groups based on race, gender, sexuality, and so on. While addressing the unique challenges these groups face is important, the approach taken by woke culture often leads to division rather than unity. What are your thoughts on this issue? Feel free to share in the comments below. Let's continue the conversation.